Good morning, folks. It's the beginning of the trading day on Friday, um, January 15th. And, since I don't have you guys in place as the team to kind of share the day with, um, I really like, doing these videos. And hopefully, they help you guys as you can see how things play out and so on and so forth. Clearly here I would be opening the day or I am opening the day with a short bias. It's actually been so since what time is that? Since like 9:15 or so, 9:15, 9:20, and things look pretty bad today. We're down 50 handles right now. Um, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of relief in sight. There's a big bid at 1860, 1600 contracts, which may be, which may hold the market up here and turn things higher. But the truth of the matter is, unless we can get back up through kind of like 1871, so up through here, there is very little chance that anything good is going to happen over most of the day, right? Now we could get there, right? We've seen stranger things happen. Markets do what they do. They kind of trade crazy. We could see it. We could see that bounce, and then see things roll over to an extraordinary degree later in the day. It just really kind of depends. For example, right now, the buyers are holding sway in part because we're down so much, right? There are plenty of people who step into the market and try to buy a falling knife and, do it several times, get cut, keep coming back. And when you're down as much as we, are down this morning, there's a lot of room for a dead cat bounce and for things to still be remain, oversold or to head back down or whatever you want to call it. Okay. It's one of the real dangers of early morning trading, something you have to really be aware of. Whether you're on my squad or whether you're, doing it on your own or you're on someone else's squad or whatever the case may be, you have to really be cognizant and pay attention because early morning trading is just that. And the part of the reason that it's so kind of crazy and like over volatile and so on and so forth is you kind of have the amateurs and the professionals doing battle, so to speak, right? We've actually ticked up through the high of this bar right here, so we're probably going to go a little bit higher. See that? We just jabbed even higher, right? They're coming in and they're buying them like crazy, right? Doesn't mean it's going to hold because we're still down 40 handles, and we've rallied, 8 points, right? But the point that I was making is right now what's happening is the amateurs and the pros are doing battle, right? And amateurs, as a general rule, want to come in and think, oh, it's down way too much, it's going to bounce. So they want to position and get themselves all set up for, said bounce. And think, you're going to have one of those days that, we've seen before where this thing like bounces and really, really takes off to the upside, right? Which, by the way, could absolutely happen. But the likelihood of it happening is far lower than they anticipate, right? Even with the strength of this move right here, right? Like I have no idea how this is going to resolve itself. But neither do they. So what the pros are doing is they are kind of letting them run this market higher, right? The pros were doing this. The pros ran it down, right? I'm a pro, but I wasn't involved. But there are professional traders who, were involved in this move to the downside, right? And then what happens is they come in and they see that the amateurs want to be big buyers and just buy everything in sight and just buy, 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 buy. So what happens? The pros step away, right? They step away and say, okay, You can take everything in sight. Take this thing up, drive it higher, do whatever you want, right? And then after about a half hour of that, what's going to happen is the pros are going to decide which way they want to be for the rest of the day, right? And they're going to start positioning themselves for that, right? And then you'll kind of see where the market really wants to go, where the volume is really going to play, what's really going to happen, right? Because they have let, for lack of a better phrase, the sucker money do what it's going to do in the first 15 minutes, first half hour of the day, and now they're of the cash day, and now they're going to get involved and assert. And they may decide, you know what, I kind of like this move to the upside. Maybe we should just eclipse this and go on up back to even relative to where we closed yesterday. Or they could absolutely say, you know what, they ran it up, but now it's time to take this thing back to where it was and back where it clearly belongs, right? And cause it to drop. Okay, so the way to think about and the way to play this thing is hold on one second. Sorry, the buzzy ringing phone, as it were. So at any rate, the interesting thing here is to watch and wait, right? For me, certainly, anyway, my bias right now is neutral. Even though this looks incredibly strong and looks like it's only going to continue higher, the metrics that I watch suggest that the best thing for me to do is a grand total of nothing, right? Because those metrics are at odds. They're not all lined up in the same direction, right? So that's what I will be doing, and that's what I will be instructing you guys to do, and hopefully you will be following, and won't get yourself caught or impelled trying to get long right here, for God's sakes, or trying to get short right here, and it then go on to really fly higher, right? There's just no way of having any real sense of probability right here, right? And that's a big reason why I don't have any interest in playing it one way or the other. Not yet, anyway, right? So we just have to see. This has been an extraordinary move off the lows, and it will oftentimes lead people to do something crazy, simply because they're like, well, I gotta sit on my hands. Now, mind you, the market's been open a grand total of 8 minutes. The cash market's been open a grand total of 8 minutes, right? But there's something about this kind of movement that will lead people to want to take action because they feel like they're missing it, right? Clearly they missed it from here, right? It's like, the market open. I should have got in. I should have got long right here. Well, no, actually you shouldn't. Not unless you had a setup telling you to do that, right? A well-tested, a validated, and verified setup that had shown you profits over and over and over again, right? Unless you had that, there was absolutely no reason for you to get involved right there, right? Even though your psychology, until it's well steeped, will absolutely be telling you to do that, right? Now, my bias, well, not yet, but soon will be going back to short, interestingly enough, right? It's not there yet, but it's heading in a direction that makes it feel like it might be, going back to that before too long. Now the only thing to do is to watch and wait, right? Or wait and watch, whichever you prefer. When you see this kind of smacking, what's happening is, some of the more real players are saying, okay, you had a nice run. Now let's see how you really feel about it, right? So they're not, the pros aren't coming in full sell yet, right? What they're doing is they're saying, okay, let's see how you really feel, right? And they're feeding a little bit out, pushing the shorts out there a little bit, seeing if this buying action is real or if it's going to fade, like a sunset. And the only question, once again, right, is for people like you and I to wait. That's it, right? We wait and see. And then once we get a reasonable picture, get a setup, we take it. It either works or it doesn't, right? It's very simple. That's part of what makes it awesome. And there's not that much more to add. I thought maybe there would be, a trade to take advantage of in the first few minutes. It's part of, I wanted to show you the open, and I also wanted to, see if something would set up in the first few minutes. It didn't. So I'm going to end this video because it's, kind of long. And actually, you know what? It's beneficial that nothing showed up because a big part of, like, I don't want you guys to see, like, every video I do, it and make it feel like, I feel like a lot of times commercials, like, I call it like the clean baby commercial, right? Like commercials with kids and little babies only show them, being swaddled and being like, like comfortable. They don't show like the poop commercials. They don't show the commercials where the kid has just turned over everything. I mean, they do, but those aren't the ones where they're trying to, they don't, if they want to sell like, oh, go have a baby, they don't show that, right? So it's actually good that this has turned into really a weight video, right? Because that, my friends, is what you're going to spend the majority of your time doing. See how this is turned back up, right? That's why my bias never changed, right? Look at it. Look at it, right? They fed some out and they let them come in. Now they're saying, okay, where are you now, right? There's absolutely nothing for us to do, right? You know what? Instead of ending this, I'm going to pause it. And when it comes back, when my bias changes from neutral, I'm going to come back and see if we can find a setup. Okay, so I now have a long bias. We've kind of stretched this thing out a little bit. Feels toppy though. So I have a long bias, but I would not be interested in taking any trade unless and until, I had a decent little pullback that, let me into a trade. Okay. So, just understand and recognize that. And it wouldn't take much for me to go back to neutral because we really had a strong run off the lows here. Right. And anytime you get, an extended situation in either direction, what you don't want to be is late to the trade, right? You don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're taking the trade because you've been waiting around, and now all of a sudden something appeared. So you're so happy to have a trade that you take something that you would not otherwise have taken. Right? Does that make sense? I'm saying that like you guys can hear me. But hopefully you nodded your head because you do understand and wouldn't find yourself on the wrong side of a trade because of that. So I don't know if you guys could hear that in the background. Trades getting executed, but I kind of picked up my daily goal here. Because I did get a nice little pullback on a lower time frame. And took the trade. I actually think this is going to roll over. We're running into some pretty strong resistance up here at 81.25. So I think, notwithstanding the 200,000 that have contracts that have traded to push us up from the open, I think when it's all said and done, we're going to give it back. I think. But stranger things have happened. I am not in the business of forecasting which way we're going to go. I'm in the business of paying attention to the path of least resistance and going along for the ride. Okay. So I think that's enough. Hopefully this video, as I hope with all of the videos that I do and send to you guys, I really hope we're kind of getting softening up here already. I really hope this is helpful. And it gives you more guidance. And remember, like I said, This game is about waiting. This game is about patience and discipline, right? I only took the trade that I took on a lower time frame because I got a nice little pullback and it looked like it was ready to pop, right? But I also had very, very little risk on that trade, right? It was very tight because it was such a small, like micro time frame, right? So I picked up, my daily goal on a slightly larger size than a quarter size position, and it ran enough in my favor to give me my daily goal, and then it stopped out the back half of the trade because I was scaling out. But that's a little bit more of an advanced technique and not something that you guys need to worry about at the outset because you will only be trading one contract. Okay, I'm starting to babble. Don't want to do that. If you have any questions about this or any of the other videos, as usual, please feel free. Barring that, we'll see you at the next one. Okay, of course I had to come back and attach a little bit to the previous video. And as you can see, it's a couple of minutes after 10, and look what's happening, right? We did get the turn. My bias switched around right in here. If you can see where I'm circling, right in here. So, even if I hadn't picked up my daily goal, or if I, had suffered a loss, the potential to recover and make it back, or the potential to actually make my daily goal definitely has presented already, right? I mean, if you're looking at this thing from, call it, I think my bias changed around 74. So we'll call it 74 and a quarter. So you're looking at it from 74 and a quarter. I mean, it's almost given you already 10 points, right? So assuming that you would have had a setup in there that would have given you a short, right? You would have made your daily goal as well and could have been on your way. 10 points is 40 ticks, by the way, just as a reminder there. And unfortunately for the broader market, I don't think we're done, right? By the way, look where we turned. You see how price like gives you hints? That was resistance right there. You guys see that? And we literally turned, right? Now, again, I normally think of resistance in terms of zones, support and resistance in terms of zones, right? But that literally turned on a dime and headed south, right? And once again, I don't think we're done to the downside. I think we've already traded 1 million contracts, right? It's right after 10 o'clock. I think this market is in trouble, right? I think it's in trouble overall. I wrote something, I posted to the blog about, as much the other day. I think the indices are in trouble. I had a very close friend who attended a class that I did, and she swing trades the Qs, and she reached out to me and said, hey, what do you think about, like, should I stay on the sidelines or should I go back in, right? And I don't give specific trade suggestions. I just try to, I make like a coach. I just try to put you in the best position possible for you to make the play, right? But in this instance, I said, you know what? Don't get fooled. Stay on the sidelines. This thing is still heavy, right? And if it turns, follow your metrics. If it turns and goes back into being in a structural positive mode, then you can take long setups. But until that happens, there's no need. Okay. So again, it's actually gonna do it today. I actually have a bunch of stuff to do. Look how we're running back up to the upside. I actually have a bunch of things to do. But I just wanted to share, the kind of turn and drop, and it'll be interesting to see where this thing goes now. Okay. So that's it. We'll see you at the next video.